What if Mace Windu trusted Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith? That's what we're going to go over today. I really enjoyed writing this story, and I did take a lot of inspiration from the Revenge of the Sith novelization. Excellent story, so hope you enjoy. Let's get right into it. Mace Windu stood on the Coruscant shipyards looking to the sky as half of a ship emerged into the atmosphere and was descending down into Coruscant. At this point, Windu could only wonder what was going on inside of it, but somehow he already knew. Skywalker, the Chosen One, was flying half of the ship, most likely with Palpatine and Kenobi on board, and as Windu watched it descend, hoping the Force would guide them, he remembered all of the events that led up to the attack on Coruscant, and why Skywalker has suddenly become the most important person to the Republic. Before the attack, Skywalker and Kenobi found a Mechno chair that belonged to Newt Gunray, and they were able to trace messages sent to the device from somewhere on Coruscant, somewhere in the industrial sector, and they traced that lead to an old building in that area of Coruscant, where Mace and a group of Jedi and clones invaded a building to find it was a recently abandoned lair, the likely lair of the Sith. This was the closest they had been to uncovering the Sith, and their investigations continued with clone intelligence finding footprints that led from the building all the way into the underground tunnels, and those tunnels led directly to a place that could only mean terrible things. They led to the underground tunnel for 500 Republica, the most exclusive address on Coruscant, home to the most powerful senators, along with the Supreme Chancellor, and this only confirmed the suspicions brought on by Obi-Wan at the start of the war. Darth Sidious, whoever he may be, has invaded the highest levels of the Republic, and he was likely part of the Palpatine's inner circle. And Mace wasn't convinced that the Chancellor even believed the Sith were real. And now, as Mace watched Skywalker miraculously land the half-ship, he knew he had to place the highest level of trust in the boy. No one in the Order, heck, the entire Republic, was closer to the Chancellor than Anakin, and the Sith may be closer to the Chancellor than all of them. And as much as Mace tried to follow the Jedi Code, detach himself from any attachments, there was always one he could never let go of: the Republic. He loved the Republic, and every day he watched the Republic fall further into tyranny under Palpatine. He had to make a gamble, and that gamble was to trust Skywalker with information that only he and Yoda knew, the information about the Sith. So Mace walked up to the ship, feeling a strange aura of new darkness, as Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Palpatine were exiting. Obi-Wan and Palpatine looked weary, while Skywalker stood tall, the hero with no fear, as the Republic called him, and Mace began asking how everything went, and after making sure they were alright, he asked Master Kenobi if there was anything significant to the report, and Kenobi said that Dooku was there. He was dead, killed by Skywalker, and now Mace realized why he felt a new darkness. Skywalker killed Dooku, but not without losing a bit of himself. Mace didn't know what to say. With Dooku dead, the Confederacy could crumble. But of course, Palpatine assured Windu there would be no peace until Grievous was found and destroyed. Windu knew this was coming, and he told Palpatine that Grievous would be the highest priority of the Jedi. With a tone that bordered on threatening, Windu said the war will end soon. And they all boarded a shuttle, taking them back to 500 Republica, and the closer they got, the more Windu felt Skywalker shift from a dark, emotionless state to one of pure joy in the Force. The boy was trying to hide how much he was looking out the window, looking for someone in particular, and Windu looked past him to make eye contact with Obi-Wan, who gave only an understanding nod. They landed, and the Chancellor walked away, while Anakin said his goodbyes to the two Jedi Masters, hurrying up to the group of senators. Obi-Wan stayed on the shuttle, and now it was just him and Windu. Mace was concerned about Anakin's swirling emotions, and he decided now to let Obi-Wan in on everything, to get his opinion. Mace began to tell Obi-Wan everything he knew, how they were tracking the Sith Lord to 500 Republica, and how the attack on Coruscant was so curiously perfectly timed to get them off the trail for the time being. And he told Obi-Wan about how him and Yoda had suspicions that Sidious had influence over Palpatine, and that if this war continued after Grievous was destroyed, the Jedi may have to move against Palpatine to restore freedom in this democracy. Obi-Wan could barely breathe hearing all of this, and he looked down as they traveled back to the temple to see the destruction all around Coruscant. This war was affecting everyone, killing trillions. And then Mace continued, saying that he thinks Anakin needs to know about all of this. He is closer to Palpatine than anyone, but perhaps if the Jedi show their trust, show Anakin this evidence, he will come back to them rather than the Chancellor. Obi-Wan nodded his approval, and sometime later, they were set to meet with Grand Master Yoda the next morning to discuss Anakin and Palpatine. And on this morning, Obi-Wan could see the sadness, the desperation, maybe even the fear in Windu's eyes as they began to discuss their next moves. The discussion started calmly, with Mace telling Yoda about Anakin's actions to save Palpatine and kill Dooku, how something felt off, how the Chancellor refused to give any ground for peace even with Dooku dead. But slowly, the discussion turned extremely argumentative. Windu was unsettled by the war as it continued, and he brought up the possibility of moving against the Chancellor to Yoda. And Yoda jabbed his cane at Windu, saying they need proof, but Windu fired back, saying that waiting gives the Sith all the advantage, while Yoda fired back, saying the Sith already have the advantage. Obi-Wan tried to interject to calm them down, when suddenly Anakin was at the door, asking for a moment alone with Yoda. The prior night, Anakin had dreams, nightmares of his wife dying, and he wanted to discuss these dreams with Yoda, preferably alone. But Windu took a deep breath and told Skywalker to sit. They had much to discuss with him, and he told Anakin that the Jedi need his help, that the Council need his help, or even more specifically, that just the three of them, Windu, Yoda, and Kenobi, need his help. Anakin took a seat, and Yoda asked first what it was that Skywalker wanted to discuss, and Anakin was hesitant to say, but the reassurance a moment ago from Windu allowed him to open up, and so he told the three Jedi that he had dreams, nightmares about someone he loves dying, and Obi-Wan spoke up, asking if they were like the ones Anakin had about his mother before she died. This was not something Anakin wanted to discuss with the three most influential Jedi in the Order. It was a dark moment in his life, and one of them tried to ignore, but today they could not ignore it. Anakin said yes, they were like the ones about his mother, and then Yoda asked if they were about himself or someone close to him, and Anakin said they were about someone, and then he said he would not let these dreams come true. Windu sat back in his seat. It was obvious to him that this was about the senator that Anakin was waiting for upon his arrival back to Coruscant, Padme, and part of Windu wanted to scold Anakin for this attachment, but that would be hypocrisy on his part. He understood having an attachment that you would do anything to protect. His was the Republic, and Anakin's was Padme. So now Windu spoke up, asking Anakin if he would do anything to stop these dreams, even if it meant betraying a friend. And Anakin was in a vulnerable state, desperate for answers. So he said yes, and Windu said that if Anakin helps them, then the Jedi will do everything in their power to save Padme from dying. This took Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin by surprise, but all of them knew now there was no reason to hide it. The Jedi were desperate, and Windu understood that the Republic needed Anakin more than Anakin needed the Republic. He needs the Chosen One. And Anakin looked to the ground, then nodded, saying he will do whatever they need. And so Windu detailed what they knew. The Sith had a lair in the industrial sector of Coruscant. Underneath it was a tunnel that led to 500 Republica, the building where Palpatine and his inner circle resided. And back on Geonosis, Dooku told Obi-Wan that the Sith were in direct control of the Republic, and so Windu told Anakin that they could only assume that Palpatine was being influenced by the Sith, whether he knew it or not. This took Anakin aback. He could not believe the Chancellor was working with the Sith, but the evidence was there, and the war had shown no signs of stopping. Perhaps it was the war that would ultimately get Padme killed. Anakin said he would report back anything strange the Chancellor says or does, to help Padme, and Anakin took off for a meeting with the Chancellor. He didn't expect this so soon, but it would be an opportunity to question Palpatine on any strange dealings or hints of the Sith. Anakin walked through the room to see Palpatine facing the window, and without turning he said, "Anakin, hello," and he must have seen Anakin in the reflection. Palpatine turned to him now, saying this war must end soon, and Anakin noticed he looked tired, like he hadn't slept last night either, and Anakin told Palpatine that he had the full support of the Jedi in bringing this war to an end. But before Anakin could continue on and ask about the Sith, Palpatine planted his own seeds of doubt. Not long ago, Anakin was told by Windu that Palpatine may be working against the Republic, but now Palpatine spoke, saying he thinks the Jedi are working against the Republic. Palpatine said the Jedi fear Anakin because they know they can't control him forever. And then Palpatine said the Jedi are using this fear of a faceless enemy. And now Anakin jumped in, seeing an opportunity. He said Dooku was not faceless, and Sidious will soon reveal himself. The Sith were the enemy of the Republic. And Palpatine only sighed, saying there was no real proof of this, that Sidious even exists. Then he told Anakin that he was afraid the Jedi were working against him, and he informed Anakin that he would be his eyes and his ears on the Jedi Council. And now Anakin realized he was not a spy only for the Jedi, but also for the Chancellor, spying on both groups to find out which one was working against the other. It was almost too much to grasp, but he could only thank Palpatine and leave the office to contemplate everything. And eventually, Anakin would find himself in the council with all of the members present. Windu told Anakin that he has informed the rest of the council of their suspicions, that the Sith Lord was working in the heart of the Republic, and then they told Anakin he would be granted a seat on the council, but not yet be promoted to Master, as to make Palpatine think there was dissension or distrust within the Order. Anakin nodded, then reported that Palpatine seemed to have doubts Sidious even existed. This was strange, but the meeting concluded with Mace asking Anakin to stay back, so that just the two of them could talk. When they were alone, Mace said he was sorry for not being there more for Anakin through the war. He said it was hard for him to grasp everything going on, and he has been hard on Anakin. But he told him that he was proud of who he was becoming, and Anakin thought he almost saw a very rare smile begin to form on Windu's face. So Anakin smiled back, saying he was very appreciative of the support. Anakin said he knew he was wrong to be with Padme, but he could not let it go. He loved her. And again, Mace understood, though he wished he did not. And later that night, Anakin was sitting with Padme in their home when Padme began to express concerns about the Republic. She was saying she feared the democracy they served no longer existed. And Anakin had to get up and pace the room. First the Jedi felt this way, and now his wife. All of the people he was closest to feared Palpatine, the man he always looked up to as a mentor. And Anakin sat back down, wondering if it was him that was blind to what was really going on. Was Palpatine putting up a charade, or only a mask for Anakin? Was he making it seem like he was someone he was not? It was all so confusing, but Anakin promised Padme now that he would do whatever he could to get to the bottom of this. The trust from the Jedi, and the trust from his wife, reassured him. And soon enough, Anakin found himself running up the stairs to the Opera Theater, and sitting down next to Palpatine. The two of them began to talk, and soon the conversation went down a direction that Anakin did not expect. Palpatine began talking about the Sith, and how he thought they were just like the Jedi, how they were afraid to lose their power, how he thought they were just the Jedi, but Anakin interjected, saying the Jedi are selfless, curious as to where this was going. And then Palpatine brought up the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, and Anakin listened as Palpatine described how the Sith had the power to create life. But something clicked in this moment for Anakin. He recalled the words of trust from Windu, Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Padme, words about how the Chancellor and the Republic could be controlled by the Sith. And here, now, Palpatine was describing the perfect Sith to solve all of Anakin's problems. Here and now, Anakin could see what Windu could see. Something was off, but now he had the final key. The Sith were not controlling Palpatine. The Sith was Palpatine. And Palpatine saw a look of betrayal flash across Anakin's eyes as he said two words, "It's you." And Palpatine decided it was time. He had no choice. He told Anakin that yes, it is him, and only through him can Anakin end this war, save Padme from certain death. But Anakin was not hearing him. In this moment, he could only hear Windu and the others, telling Anakin to be weary of Palpatine, and he jolted up from his seat, telling Palpatine that the Jedi were right, and he would be arrested for his crimes. Palpatine couldn't even speak again before Anakin was gone. And as Palpatine sat here, he felt into the Force. He felt little to no conflict within Anakin. Anakin was not afraid, and now Palpatine finally understood that since their return to Coruscant, it was him who was being played. Palpatine thought blankly, astonished. Anakin trusts the Jedi Council, and he knew in this moment that Anakin would not be joining him. It was time for Order 66. Flying through Coruscant, Masters Obi-Wan Kenobi and Mace Windu were accompanying Yoda to his Republic cruiser to take off for Kashyyyk, and they were all discussing Anakin. Obi-Wan said he fears the Order has placed too much on Anakin's plate, but Windu spoke up now, saying they must have faith in the boy. He said these responsibilities, this pressure to do what is right, are what will make him fulfill the prophecy, and Yoda said that perhaps the prophecy was misread, while Windu sat back, saying he didn't think so, and Windu stared out into the city, saying he had a feeling Anakin would do what is right, and that he trusts him, but Yoda said he fears Anakin will see that he is betraying a friend in the Chancellor, so Obi-Wan spoke up, saying the thing that matters more to anything to Anakin is saving Padme, and the Jedi have given him the assurance that they will help him with that. Soon they landed at the platform with the ships ready for Kashyyyk, but right on cue, a Jedi speeder spun in front of them, and Anakin jumped out from it, seemingly out of breath and concerned. The three Jedi asked what was going on, when Anakin revealed to the Jedi that they were right about almost everything. Sidious was controlling Palpatine, because Sidious is Palpatine. The Jedi were astonished by this, but they could feel Anakin was telling the truth, and so Windu broke into action immediately. He told Yoda and Obi-Wan to go to the opera, arrest Palpatine if he is still there, but it is more likely he's returned to his office. Then he looked to Anakin, determination and trust in his eyes, as he told Anakin that he was with him. Yoda nodded his approval, and the two Jedi teams broke off in the most important mission of the war. In the speeder on the way to Palpatine's office, Windu thanked Anakin for coming to them, promising Anakin that once this is over, the Jedi will help Padme as best they can. His dreams will not come true. Anakin nodded. He was nervous about what was going to happen next. In his office, Darth Sidious switched on the communicator to reach out to all of the clones across the galaxy. He could feel he was running out of time, and that thought came true as he saw a purple lightsaber flying towards him. He barely ducked, but it cut through the communicator. Order 66 would have to wait, as he looked to the door to see Windu standing next to Anakin, lightsabers ignited. And so Sidious pulled out two of his own red lightsabers. These two Jedi were possibly the only two in the Order that could defeat him, so two sabers would be necessary. Anakin paced the room, and Sidious said that only he could save Padme, trying one more time, but Anakin yelled, "Liar!" And from here, the battle commenced. Sidious flipped between them, striking at both at the same time, and then Sidious landed, lunging at Windu, and had his saber blocked, then spun to block a strike from Anakin. Sidious pushed Anakin's lightsaber towards Windu, sending the Jedi Master stumbling backwards, and Sidious had Anakin one-on-one, using one saber to push Anakin's away, then spinning and cutting across Anakin's already scarred eye. Anakin screamed in pain, but Windu got back into the battle before Sidious could kill him, and Anakin used the pain to fuel himself back into the fight. The three warriors spun through the office with blinding speed, objects falling to the floor as Sidious was knocking both strikes at the same time, then flipping into the air, slamming the ground with a blast of lightning, sending both Jedi to the ground, and blasting Anakin with an extra hit of lightning, keeping him knocked down for longer. Windu got back up, and was in his own one-on-one with Sidious now, as the Sith Lord took the opportunity to further unbalance Anakin, yelling at him that he would die here, and then he would move on to kill Padme and their child. Sidious could feel the anger and the pain rising in Anakin, and with a laugh, he felt that Windu had also become distracted, focusing more on making sure Anakin stayed in the light than on fighting this battle. And Sidious, using two lightsabers, was more powerful than Windu anticipated, so he dislodged Windu's saber with one hand, spun backwards, and tried to stab Windu through the chest. But Windu put his hand up, blocking the saber with the Force, but Sidious pressed on, pushing his saber through Windu's hand, cutting it off, and then lodging it into the Jedi Master's side. Windu felt it, looked down, and fell to the ground. But he was not dead yet. He pulled his lightsaber through the air, throwing it to Anakin, who was now ready to fight again, this time with both his saber and Windu's. Anakin had trained Ahsoka to use 2 lightsabers, and now he needed to remember that training to combat Sidious's 2 sabers. Sidious scowled angry at Anakin, then lifted his own desk with the Force, throwing it at him. Sidious watched as Anakin leapt through the air, cutting through the desk, and landing with extreme power. Anakin swung with focus, using his anger to guide his power. Palpatine, Sidious had spent a war, decades manipulating him, molding him to become his apprentice, and it caused this war, cost trillions of lives. Anakin felt his rage, it gave him focus, and he swung with power, knocking one of Sidious's lightsabers away, then cut through the Sith Lord's eye for revenge. And as Sidious stumbled backwards, Anakin rained strike after strike on the Sith Lord, until he had him. But as Anakin swung for the killing blow, something stopped him. He turned his head to see Windu, badly injured, using his one remaining hand to hold Anakin's killing strike back. As Sidious screamed out, saying that he must let Anakin do this, that it's Anakin's destiny to kill him and take his place as the Sith. But Windu was at Anakin's side now, and he said that they must do what they must do for peace, for the Republic, not for revenge. And with a final swing, he cut Sidious's head off, as Anakin looked down at his own hands. The anger, the power, the rage he just felt, all of it subsided as Sidious died, and Windu told him that he did well, as they left the destroyed office together. Weeks later, Padme Amidala gave a safe birth to twins inside of the Jedi Temple, with the greatest doctors available surrounding her. There were no complications, and it gave Anakin a great deal of peace to know these dreams would not always come true. In the time since Sidious was killed, the Jedi had reported everything they knew to the Senate. Grievous was destroyed quickly, the Senate realized how far up corruption went, and all of Palpatine's closest advisors were brought under interrogation. Some were found guilty of conspiracy with him, and Mon Mothma became the eventual new Chancellor, helping rid the Senate of corruption. And soon after, Anakin stood on the beach of Naboo, looking out into the water, thinking about Windu and the other Jedi. Their support meant everything to him, and they were allowing him to stay in the Order to help train Luke and Leia when the time was right. And folks, that's where the video ends. Let me know what you thought. I enjoy doing these alternative takes, just kind of showing a different side of guys like Windu. So, hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you in the next video.